Hello, everyone, and welcome to our special holiday edition of our webinar. This webinar's topic is Hack Halloween October Lessons. So we're going to be doing a series of webinars where we're going to be showing you special lessons that you can do for the holidays. I know those are great lessons or activities for students. Maybe if they have some time off or it's a rainy day and you need some activities for the students to work on by themselves, then these are definitely some examples of those, and just fun lessons in general that will connect to Halloween. So my name is Tara. I'm one of the education coordinators here at Ozobot.
I'm Cassandra, and I'm in the education department making lessons.
And we're kind of dressed up today just to get into the holiday spirit. So the first thing I want to point out is that there is a little question section on your control panel. And at the very end of the webinar, we're going to open up a Q&A portion, and you'll be able to type in any questions that you have during the webinar, and we'll read them out loud and answer them. So if you could just hold off on putting your questions there until the very end, and then we'll read them out loud for everybody to hear. And before we start, we always do a couple of polls just to get to know you a little bit better, help figure out our audience, what grade levels you work with. It helps us when we're creating these lessons. So I'm going to go ahead and throw up a couple of polls. It will just take a few minutes. If you could just answer these questions. So our first poll is going to be, which model are you using? BIT, Evo, or both? And then we'll just wait a little bit to make sure everyone is able to vote. Okay. So let's go ahead and share the results. We have 46% are using BIT, 36% are using Evo, and 18% are using both. Great. Okay, one thing to point out is we will have lessons for both BIT and Evo, so don't worry about it. Doesn't matter which model you're using. You'll definitely find some of these lessons very helpful. Okay, let me hide that again. Next question is, which grade levels do you want lessons for? So we have K to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, K to 8, and high school and or college. Okay, go ahead and share results. 15% K to 2, 30% 3 to 5, 18% 6 to 8, and 33% K to 8. Awesome. And our last question for today is, which type of lessons works best for your classroom? And you can answer one or more of the following. So we have standalone lessons on various subjects, short activities that I can use during, before, or after class, complete courses consisting of multiple lessons, courses that you plan 1-4 months ahead of time, and courses or curriculum that require prep prior to the school year. Okay, and if you're going to choose courses or curriculum, just make sure that you understand it's like an entire course or curriculum that you'd be able to implement, and only choose that if you would really use it, because I know a lot of people say that they want it, but they just don't have enough time to really put that inside their curriculum. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. And it looks like 80% want standalone lessons on various subjects, 66% short activities you can use during, before, or after class, 34% complete courses consisting of multiple lessons, and 11% courses that you plan 1-4 months ahead of time. So that's awesome. A lot of these lessons are going to be those standalone lessons or short activities that you can use after class, during class, throw it in for 30 minutes just to fill some time. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on those. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over the presentation to Cassandra. Okay.
like Tara said, we're going to be going, oops, already to my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're going to be going over some activities for Halloween, and these are based on our most recent blog post. So we're going to email you these lessons afterward, but you can also look at our blog to see the lessons that we're recommending here. So we have lessons for all different ages, and then we have them for both our off-screen coding with color codes and then our visual programming, OzoBlockly. Let's get started. I'll keep myself up. Our first lesson is our trick or treat lesson. This is using color codes, and let me actually open it for you. That link is going to take you right to our lesson library where you can download the lesson documents. So this is basically a time challenge. It uses our timer code right there. It's already input. So that's going to, when the Ozobot goes over it, it's going to give it 30 seconds before it turns off. So the object of it is, the idea is that it's Halloween, trick-or-treating is almost done, and our bots are trying to go around to as many houses as they can to get as much candy as they can. So the lessons include a map. Let me go back to my, includes a map of a neighborhood, and then it includes some printables that you ideally want to print the last 2 pages of this lesson front and back so that you can make little cards. So they have a house on the front and a certain amount of candy on the back. I'll go over those a little bit more in a minute. It also includes some student instructions for how to play the game. So I would print this out and give it to them. It also includes the color codes that they might want to use to complete their neighborhood. And it also gives them a little guide for how many candies are on each card, just to help with strategizing. So what you do first is you cut out your cards, then you separate. You'll see there's a little haunted house, and you want to keep that separate. So after you've cut out all of your little colored house cards, how's that? Can you see that pretty well? Okay. You go and you just randomly put your cards in the neighborhood. I could have had this partially done for you so you didn't have to watch me do that, but I didn't have that much forethought. So here we go. Okay. Okay, so now as a student, I'm going to look at my sheet and see which houses I want to try to go for, keeping in mind that I'm not going to be able to reach all of them in the 30 seconds that the Ozobot has. So if I were a student, I'd probably be trying to get to this haunted house, which has 5 pieces of candy. So I would go and I would fill in the color codes that would help get me to whichever house I choose. But keeping in mind also that there are some intersections that are going to be random. So this is a game of chance and strategy, trying to complete as best as you can to get as much candy as you can. This can be made into a game or a competition by having students go head to head and see who gets the most candy with their different map. So I'm going to black out some of the color codes just so that it doesn't get stuck anywhere. To be honest, I didn't really test this beforehand, so we'll see where my robot ends up going. So I have a Krampus, one of the ears just fell off. And as I'm going to put it on the start, hope the tongue doesn't get in the way. And so as it goes over this color code, it's going to know now is 30 seconds. So as the Ozobot goes, as it passes in front of a house, I'm going to pick the candy card. So I don't pick any cards that the Ozobot doesn't pass, and my time is up. Except for just start. So then at the end, I take the cards that I did pass and I count up the number of candy on the back. So this one had 1, 3, and 2. I got 6. So I can try it a few times with a different map and see which strategy is the best, or you can go up against a classmate and see who can get the most candy. So this is just kind of strategic thinking, computational thinking, and then getting started with learning what the different color codes do. You'll see if this one made it go fast and the other ones made it go a particular direction. So 6 points. That's done. So we'll say goodbye to Krampus.
I want to point out too, that was a really good example, because a lot of people will look at the maps and think that they have to use all those color code spaces that were there, but you blacked them out. So that's another good thing to point out, that you can get creative and kind of do whatever you want with the map.
Yeah, exactly. Very true. Yeah. So if it were going to go along and it saw that, it would probably just stop. But yeah, we just want to give the options, the option to be able to put different ones anywhere. So yeah, that shows that there's no real right answer for this one. It's just value judgments and strategizing and deciding what they think is going to get them the most candy in those 30 seconds. And a lot of people are always asking about the timer code. So that's kind of hopefully it gives you some ideas for a different ways to do it, to use that. So I think I covered everything for this lesson. Yeah, and again, all the rules are on here, so you can kind of just give it to your students and then have them figure it out for themselves. But it's always helpful, especially if they're beginners, to go through how to draw the color codes and everything. So the next lesson on the blog is our spooky scare story generator. So this is a really fun and actually in-depth lesson that is disguised as just something super fun. So this is actually a good lesson to show your students the games and everything that they play, like what's behind that. So this lesson in particular covers random numbers. So some students might go on some random number generator. That's not completely random. It's actually, what is the word I'm looking for? It's actually a formula, something that you can actually get an idea of by looking at the lesson. So this lesson is for grades 4 to 8, and this one uses OzoBlockly. So we actually give a program, and they can either use it as is or change it around a little bit to really make the story their own. It goes over how random number generation is used, and then gives an example of that in the program that we use for here. And you'll see in a second how exactly that comes into play. So here's the program, and I want to load that onto the robot after I've completed my map. So we'll come back to that in a second. This is a map that's already been completed. So students are going to choose one of the colors that the Ozobot markers come in besides black to fill in the border with. So they can choose blue, red, or green. And then they fill in the border, and that's just going to help in our program for the robot to know to turn around, and it's going off the story map. Now, not using the color on the border, you'll see this person used green, and so they've only used like blue and red, and you can use any other colors you want also if you have Crayola markers, just as long as you're not using green. So they go into each of these boxes. Some are filled out already, and they choose an adjective or a verb or an adverb. It's kind of like Mad Lib style, except using the pictures. And then they actually have instructions here for the students as well. So you can kind of just hand this part to them and they can complete it on their own. So once they've completed the map, they are ready to make their spooky story. We'll go back here. Whoops, I made it. Okay. There we go. So they can, I recommend going through this one time with the program kind of as is, except for this surface color block here. You'll see whatever color they chose to use for the border, they'll want to have the robot detect the proper color by putting it in. So we would do green, we'd load that program onto our Evo. Kind of an important detail, this program in particular uses Evo's proximity sensors. So they're kind of putting their hands around the robot using the proximity sensors to move it. But if you don't have Evo and you have Bit, you can still do this. I'll show you that program in a little bit by just having it move randomly. So you're not using the proximity sensors. It just kind of gives it a spooky, can I say, Ouija-like characteristic. But obviously demystifying that and showing how exactly that's working. So I've already loaded that onto my Evo, so we'll see how that works. So you might remember to run a program on Evo, you double press the power button. You see here that the pink light came on, and that's how I know that it's running the program, and it also has those lights here. So I'm covering all of Evo's sensors, and it's moving along on its own. And then I'm starting on a dark and stormy night, and then putting it along these different pictures. So when it stops, you see with that purple light, that means that it's time to write it down. So here we have a moon, I believe. So I would write it on my paper on a list. And so then I would keep going, and then you can either, if you have enough words, if you want to give a limit to the kids of how many words, you can do that, or you can wait till Evo reaches the spooky end. So then they'll take their list of words and they will write a story with it. So really good way to integrate writing and technology. We love this lesson. It's what we're all about. So just a little bit more about the lesson. Oh, let me show you Bit actually. So I've already loaded the program onto Bit. That's also in the link that you saw me, the document that you saw me get this link from. So I double press it to run the power button. It's pink, so you know it's running the program. And that's something we program. That's not how it always is. But for this program, you know it's running by it turning pink on top. So then it's going along. It stopped on shark. And you saw it detected the green, so it turned around to stay within our story. And stopped on, I believe that's a cookie.
And eating cookies.
And so we're just collecting the words, waiting for it to pause and turn purple to know which words it's choosing, and then waiting for it to get to the end. So we had a lot of fun with that here. Hopefully you'll have a lot of fun with that with your class. And so depending on the age of your students, you might want to go, you might want to go through the program with them. And we actually include a guide for that within the lesson. So goes through what is randomness, how do computers get random numbers. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen, am I? So I just went back to the lesson, the same one that I got the links for the OzoBlockly programs from, and I'm just showing the kind of guide that we give you to go through randomness with your students and how that works in the context of computers. And then this next page shows our program in particular. So kind of deconstructs it for you. So if your students want to change something, if they want to change the frequency at which the Ozobot stops and chooses a word, they can do that. They can change the speed. So you can go even deeper by working with this program. And then, yes, the documents to print it out are at the end so that you can get started creating your spooky story. I'm going to pass it back to Tara.
Okay, so let's get started on our next couple lessons. Okay, so we're going to go on to, let me show my screen. So I'm going to start from scratch and kind of show you how to get to the Oza blog. So you can see my screen. All right, so here's our ozobot.com website. And right here at the top, we have the educators button. This is your best friend. You should probably be visiting this page very often. And it's just an overview of the different robots. We have the different ways to code, so color codes in OzoBlockly. So if you're not familiar with that, then you can read a little bit more about that. And if we come over here to the Oza Blog section, I'm going to click on that, and that's where you're going to find this Oza Blog post about the different Halloween lessons. But of course, you can go to our lesson library and find them there too. You can search. Okay, so let's move down to the Day of the Dead activity. So this one's really great. Let me click on this one. It allows the students to find out a little bit more about their ancestry. Of course, Dia de los Muertos is all about honoring their ancestors. So let me go ahead and turn this down a little bit. So you're going to be getting a map, and you can print out multiple of these, and you can do one for each of your family members. So this one I chose to work with my dad's side of the family. So what the students will be able to do is you'll explain to them the lesson, and they're going to go home and they're going to find out more about their ancestors. So I'm going to go home and talk to my dad about my grandparents, and then about my great-grandparents, do a little digging, kind of see, find out more about them, their interests, what they were really interested in. And for example, say I went home and I was talking to my dad about my great-grandma, and I find out that she really loved dolphins. They were her favorite animal. So I'm going to go ahead and write all that down and then come back to class, and I'll be given this map. And you'll get 2 or 3 or 4, depending on how many family members they talked to. And so, as I said earlier, I did this one according to my father's side. So I'm going to go ahead, and there's lines here for each one of my family members. So I've written right here, hopefully you guys can see this. Okay, so right here's me. They can put their name, and here's my dad. Of course, I can put his name too. And grandma and grandpa are still alive. They have not passed away yet. So I'm gonna put their names here. And because they haven't passed away, I'm not going to be presenting them with a gift. So I don't have to put anything in these little boxes right here. And then as I move forward, I'll have space for great grandma and great grandpa. So great grandpa, he's still alive, but great grandma has passed away. So when talking to my dad, found out that dolphins were her favorite animal. So I came with a little dolphin sticker. Now the students can draw something in there. They can bring a little article or create something just to put on that little square as a gift to present to their ancestor. And so with this map, my great grandma was the only one who passed away. So she's the only one that I had to present a little gift. And then what I want to do is I want my Ozobot to make its way through this kind of maze and put in the correct color codes to get them to go to each family member. And of course, I want it to end on grandma and give her that little present here. Let me show you the lesson docs. So I'm going to scroll down. So here's an example of the blank map. We'll give you little cutouts. So we've colored these ones. The students can color their own. And so you'll just print these, hand these off to the students. These are examples. So you'll see that we've actually drawn in a birthday cake here, a guitar. This is just an example to show the kids how they can create their maps. And I've also cut out some of these little cutouts. I'm going to place one on my Ozobot here. So now that I'm done putting in these color codes, getting Ozobot to all the correct brackets, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my Ozobot, start them at me, and you'll see that once I hit dad, I want it to go left. So that was a left color code. Then it's going to go visit grandma, turn back around, and now it's time to go visit grandpa. So this code right here is telling it to keep straight. And then I'm going to come visit grandma again, and then it told it to make a left turn. So now here I'm going to go to great grandma, and I've presented her with the dolphin gift. And then we're going to come back and then end on great grandpa. So that's just an example of that lesson. And the students can get creative and bring fun little trinkets that apply to each family member. So that is that lesson. And then let me go back to our blog. The last thing that we have to show you isn't really a lesson, it's more of a contest for everyone to partake in. So we have our Ozobot DIY costume contest that is going on right now. It's for grades K to 12 or kids at heart of all ages. And what we want you to do is we want you to share your Ozobot dressed up, basically. So just a regular costume contest, and you can get really creative. So we have, here's where you can enter. It will show you just the outline of the contest and how you can share your entries. And there is 27 days left to do this, so you have up until Halloween, I think, to be able to submit your costumes. But I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the things that we have created here in-house to kind of give you some inspiration. So you can go really simple, and with the Ozobots, we do have those skins that come with each Ozobot, and then if you have a classroom kit, then you've probably received some extra skins that you can use. The skins can be purchased separately, so you can purchase regular packs of just blank DIY skins, or we do have DIY Evo sticker packs, and they come with a set of 4 skins and then stickers and cutouts that you can use to decorate your Ozobot. Now you don't have to buy these. You can use your own stickers, you can use pipe cleaner, you can use pretty much anything. So here I have an example of our skin with just some bedazzlement on the top of it. So there's one idea, there's a little flower. And then pipe cleaner and feathers. So we've taken those materials and we've created a little panda bear. And you'll see that our Evo skins do have little cutouts where the color sensor or the proximity sensors are, so that won't get in the way if you wanted to create a program using the Ozobot. It still will be able to see all the objects around it. So here's our little panda bear, and with the feathers, we've created an angry bird. You'll see we just glued some feathers on top of the skin. And I'm not sure what this is. This is a very colorful, interesting Dr. Seuss looking bird, actually. So just an example of what you can use with pipe cleaner and feathers. Here we have, it looks like Hello Kitty, and all we've done is taken some white tape and taped over the skin. We used tape to create the little bow and then some pipe cleaner to add a little splash of blue right there. So just with, I think, regular tape, I don't know, masking tape you can use. And here we've gotten a little creative, I guess, using some figurines. So here's our Elsa. We have cut out the little figurine and glued it on top of the skin, and we've also decorated the skin with some glitter as well. Probably glitter nail polish. That would be a good way to get the glitter to stick and not have just random glitter everywhere. And paint. So let's show you an example of how you can paint the Ozobot skins. This one's fun. Okay, here is our rock and roll Ozobot crew, and you'll see we've just used paint and painted their little faces, and then we took the feathers and we glued it on top of the skins. Again, these pop off, so it's not hurting the Ozobot in any way. And then we've also created our little backdrop. So here's another way you can get really creative and kind of stand out when submitting your entries. Move that away. And if you want to make this a little more educational, you can also use 3D printers. So right here I have, this is my favorite because I'm a big Star Wars fan. I've taken a 3D printer and I've created a little TIE fighter, and I got the measurements of my bit, and so I can just pop the little extension over Ozobot and it can move around with the extension on it. So that was really fun. There is a lesson in our lesson library, and I believe it's the hockey lesson, and that will have the dimensions of the Ozobot for 3D printing. I think that lesson's also on Thingiverse, so if you wanted to look it up, you can get those dimensions really easily. Here's another example of something you can do with a 3D printer. It's just a brain. So again, to make yourself stand out, maybe the whole class can create a story, and each one of their Ozobots can be dressed up as one of the characters in the story. They can make up their own story. They can use another story that's already really popular. Here's another cool one, and I think we made this out of a 3Doodler, it looks like. So again, something else that you might have in your classroom that could create something cool for the Ozobot. And this is a little dinosaur. So it's really lightweight and it fits over the Ozobot as well. So if I just set it on top of the Ozobot like this and turn it on, it will start moving around the dinosaur. We were talking about how it kind of looked like Barney or Reptar a little bit, but yeah, it's a really fun, unique costume for the Ozobot. So those were just some examples. I'm sure you guys can come up with a lot more fun costume ideas for the Ozobots. And make sure that you submit those, because you can win Ozobots, which is the great part about it. If you don't have Ozobots in the classroom currently, you can still make little costumes that would potentially fit over your Ozobot and submit them, and then that way you can try to win some for your classroom. So that is pretty much all that we had for the Halloween ideas right now. So if you had any questions about the lessons, you can go ahead and type them into that little section in the control panel, and we'll read them out loud for everybody. Okay. So someone was asking if we glued the costumes to the skin. Some of those were glued. So my little, these little pipe cleaners and cotton balls, we've glued onto the skins. I could easily rip that off and maybe kind of pull off the glue so I could use the skin again potentially. It would be things like this where we kind of glued the glitter on that's not going to come off again. But of course the skins, you can always buy more and use those, so you don't have to worry about wasting them on the different costumes that you create. Let's see. Contest is only for Evo only, correct? No, you can also do it for Bit too. So we just want to see the costumes for all of your Ozobots, whether it's Evo or Bit. Bit does come with the little skins as well. You just pop them on and off. So it's open to everybody.
Even people who don't have Ozobots.
Yeah. Okay, is there a way to turn off the sensors for Evos when they have a costume on?
Yeah. So you can either program with Blockly. So with OzoBlockly, the sensors are only enabled if you program them to be. So that's something that I've done. I've also done, if you're not having very many color codes and you're just drawing lines, you can actually program it in OzoBlockly to save, use the line navigation. Should I show?
Yeah.
Is it my screen working?
There we go. Change it over to you.
Okay, we'll head there. So I'm just going to OzoBlockly.com. Okay, so I'm going to switch to Evo because that's the one that unlocks all of the Evo features. And if you go to mode 3 and go to line navigation, if you say follow line to next intersection or end, you can actually, since it's in Blockly, it's not using the sensor, so it'll still even follow the line without the costume getting in the way. The other way, and I don't recommend this for like classroom activities, but in our app, if you connect to it with Bluetooth, you kind of just have have people, like one person at a time, showing it off. You can connect to Bluetooth, and then you can use the remote control feature to like drive the Ozobot around. So those are all the ways that you can do that.
Yeah, and one thing someone was mentioning, so Cassandra's program is up. That was for the spooky lesson. So you don't have to worry about creating that on your own. Inside the lesson doc, there is a URL that you can click on, and that will bring up this program automatically. So the students don't have to sit there and put it all together. You don't have to sit there and put it all together. It just pops up on its own. Now, for those students who want to do it because they want to actually be putting together the codes and creating that program, I know it helps a lot of students learn a little better if they start from scratch and do it on their own. So definitely can do that as well. So either or, us providing the program for you already helps them for when it's a quick activity, you need to do it within 30 minutes to an hour. You don't have the time to sit there and create the blocks, but you can definitely do it either way. Okay, let's see. Okay, are the games and Blockly code available online? So yes, if you go to the Ozo blog, so Cassandra will pull it up right now.
You can either access it through a website. I'm pointing so you can see where I'm pointing. Ozo Blog there, and then
Share your screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing. So I just went to ozobot.com, and then I clicked on Oza Blog on the top here, and then you can see that the URL here is blog.ozobot.com. So.
And then you can also go to the lesson library. So if you want to show them how to get there from the main page.
So we have a pretty short link right now called ozo.bot/lessons, but the full URL is portal.ozobot.com.
And when you're on that main page too, you'll see at the top the educators button is kind of highlighted. Mm-hmm. So when you click on educators, you can click on lessons, and then it will take you straight there too. So like I said in the beginning, that educators button up there is your best friend. That's where you're going to find quick start materials and resources if you haven't been using the Ozobot that long and you just need some quick tips on how to use Ozobot with color codes or OzoBlockly. You can definitely go there. We have a lot of really fun short videos that Cassandra's actually helped create, and they'll walk you through creating programs and making your own color codes and so on. So that's a great place to go to find all those resources. Okay. I do not see how to buy just skins on the shop section of the site. Where can I buy skins in quantity? So what you'll want to do is you reach out directly to us, because that's just for educators. So after this webinar, we do send out an automatic email that goes out to all the attendees, and it will have a list of all the links that we went to and everything that we covered during the webinar, but you can also just reply back to it and it goes straight to me. So if you want to know how to buy them in bulk, then I can give you all that information. For those of you who are rewatching this recorded webinar at a later time, you can email ozoedu@ozobot.com, and that will come to me as well, and just ask about getting those skins, and I can help you out with that. Okay. It looks like that was all the questions that we had, unless somebody had one and post it. If we missed it, again, you can go ahead and just reply back to the email that we send out and ask us that question, and we'll answer it for you. But for now, I think that was all the questions that you had. So we'll go ahead and end the webinar. We will be having a holiday, let's say Thanksgiving, Christmas webinar coming up for those activities. So look out for that. I'm pretty sure that everyone was sent the email saying that we were having this webinar, and that's how they signed up. So look out for our emails. We'll be announcing some upcoming webinars. We'll have a couple more fun ones coming up here soon. So thank you for joining us. We hope you got some great ideas for lessons, activities, and make sure that you submit all of your entries for the contest so we can see all of your cool creations. Bye, everyone.
Bye.